Welcome to the Gravity Well podcast with me, Jenny Yeremy. I host the Gravity Well to celebrate and share the stories of people looking to empower others with the knowledge and skills required to reestablish stability in our communities. My mission is to work through heavy issues in conversation and process in order to lighten the load. I acknowledge that I live on the traditional territories of Treaty 7 and Métis Districts 5 and 6. The treaties and self-governance agreements established by Indigenous peoples were created to honor the laws of the land, maintain balance with nature, and give back to uphold reciprocal relationships. This knowledge and intention are what guide the Gravity Well conversations. I ask for genuine dialogue, real hearts, and openness to different perspectives. This is your invitation to find common ground with me. Positions taken by participants, either individually or collectively, do not necessarily represent those of the Gravity Well. This podcast is dedicated to the natural world, our children, nieces, nephews, grandchildren, and all future generations. The Gravity Well is on YouTube and streaming wherever you get your podcasts. If you like what you see and hear, remember to like and subscribe.
Thank you, Andy. My goodness, I was on mute. So appreciated. Okay, let's start that again. Welcome, everybody. Happy afternoon. Good afternoon. I'm excited to be chatting with Andy this afternoon. I'm going to bring him on in a minute, but just give you some updates about myself. Again, I live in Calgary. I am broadcasting from Calgary, and I have been a geophysicist turned liability expert, and now I am a public activist looking out for the public good, helping people understand what's going on in this province, both politically and environmentally. So I want to give you some updates. I've been chatting with Charlie Angus. I've had a few conversations with him now. Our last conversation I'm really pleased with. We spoke, it is titled Reclaim Alberta, People Have the Power. Charlie and I express our concerns over foreign interference, primarily from the United States. They're attempting a fake constitutional crisis led by Premier Daniel Smith. And I mentioned the book, The Petroleum Papers, which I highly encourage you to listen to or read. Please, it is also being made into a TV series, by the way. So, but it explains how the misinformation in Alberta began in the 50s, essentially. The fossil fuel industry knew that they were polluting and kept going and told the public about it in the 70s and then retracted it all starting in the 90s. So Alberta's been central to that effort. And Charlie reminds us that grassroots efforts are something that you can't measure, but something that is really critical to make sure that we can overcome these forces that are looking to divide us and separating us from our families in a lot of cases. So please check that out. It's a really great conversation. Sounds a lot heavier when I say it. Charlie is just such a great person. So it's just nice to be received in the way that he does. Thank you, Charlie. He also aired our video footage from the town hall he gave in Calgary as well. So check that out as well. That's called Midas Canada Town Hall. That event was electric. Andy was there. Maybe he can comment on it when he gets out here. But so I just want to make sure that that is a space for me to, and this space as well, is to share the people, places, and plans to reclaim Alberta. There is a better story to be told for us here than traitors and treason. So let's put up your Canadian flag. Let's make sure you join the fun. And there are rallies happening on February 21st. It's going to be the start of the coal campaign. Excited to be a part of that. And I'm sure Andy is as well. Remember, if you were a member of the Recall Nicolaides campaign, or if you're a recall campaign that is done and want to do more, that we are looking to start a citizens initiative effort in the province, starting from Calgary Bow. Also, I'm working with Colin Smith, who I'm hoping to discuss his work in the studio soon, but we're going to get to Andy right away. So let's get started. I did want to mention that on my Substack, I did post something from Phil Meitzer. So Phil and I are collaborators in a group called the Polluter Pays Project, or the Coalition for Responsible Energy is a better way to state it. He gave me permission to share an article that he titled Thoughts on Resource Extraction. And I think it's really the key takeaway for me in this article, and I encourage you to read it, is that we can't just look at coal as a win if we stop coal from happening. We have to look at the whole fossil system and the need for us to reduce our impact on the landscape. That has to be our goal going forward, and we can't keep expanding any of it. So it's really important to understand that's tied to a capitalist system that doesn't have those ecological limits baked into it. So please have a read of that. It's really important to think about, what we're really fighting, and the forces we are fighting against have bigger objectives. And so we need to meet those bigger objectives with our understanding of where they're coming from. Okay, so that's enough for me. I want to bring Andy on. Hi, Andy. Thank you so much for joining me today. How are you?
I'm doing good, Jenny. Thank you for having me on. I really appreciate that.
Yeah, thank you for telling me I was on mute. Oh my God, I don't think I've ever done that before. And I'm grateful that I saw you waving from off stage. Much appreciated. So Andy started Taking Alberta Forward, a group that he named in 2020. It was a response to the Take Alberta Back movement. And he's an active member of AB Resistance. So Andy and I met through AB Resistance late in 2024, I guess it would have been. And he's been an active leader of the Recall MacIver campaign. So that's in Calgary Hayes as well. So we've done a lot of work together. We worked together during the Forever Canadian petition too. So, and we had some great conversations. I remember chatting at the bridge in the park there. Why can't I think of the name of the park?
Edworthy Park.
Edworthy, thank you.
Yes, that was a great day.
Yeah, I remember we were with a teacher, I think it was, and she was saying, whoa, you guys just opened my eyes. Because both, Andy, if you wouldn't mind just mentioning your background, because I know you worked in oil and gas as well, more in the pipeline space, is that right?
Yes, that's correct. I graduated from SAIT in 1983 and as a survey technologist. And I worked in the upstream oil and gas industry till 1990. And then I started my path along in the pipeline industry, working for a great Alberta company, Nova Gas Transmission. And I carried on there for 11 years. And it's really where I learned a lot about the pipeline industry, the business of pipeline industry. I learned about service leadership through some great mentors in the pipeline industry. I'm going to throw a name plug out here, and I hope he's doing well. But John Ness was a construction manager that really led by his leadership style was servant leadership. Always taking care of the people that work for him, whether inspection or surveying. So, and then I've been in the pipeline industry with some great Alberta-based companies, surveying, Midwest Surveys, Caltech Surveys I worked for, and just recently I worked on with McElhinney, and I was a field supervisor out on the Coastal GasLink. Remember the section number, Section 8, I believe. So so my background is in the oil and gas, and I've always been well read on the business of the oil and gas industry. Starting back in 1971 when Peter Lougheed was elected in. So that's kind of my background. I grew up in Ogden and Milligan, Ogden, and 3 points that really set me on a path was Ogden was basically a small town. Mm-hmm. And the one thing that, we lived with the Calgary stockyards to the north of us. We lived across the Beaver Dam Flats was the Green Acres feedlot, and then it was rural Alberta. So I grew up with rural Alberta kids, and there was a CPR shop. In the oil and gas industry, was there. We had the Imperial Oil Refinery, and also and I bring that up because it's a thought of back in the late 70s when they abandoned the Imperial Oil refinery. They decided to cover it up with dirt, and they would build a indoor greenhouse on top of and then they subsequently built 200 houses where the tank farm. I grew up 2 city blocks from the tank farm there. I also grew up playing in Beaver Dam Flats, where if you went into the water to go frogging or anything, you'd come out and your pants would be black from oil. And, when corporations skirt their duties to reclaim, and they did go back in and they did reclaim that, but, the cancer rate is higher in Ogden. They don't keep stats of that, but I know my brother passed away from cancer. My sister passed away from cancer. We were playing in that stuff. We could love fishing. You couldn't eat the fish. If you put the fish in a frying pan, it would turn to oil. And it's sad. So that built my advocacy for protecting the environment. And the good part is most of the companies would take those things seriously. First, they started with safety, and then they started with community, and they started with community, and then the environment. And they put more emphasis on that, and building pipelines and doing the right things for the environment. The directional drilling was a better methodology for maintaining the banks of the rivers and little impact to fish, dam and bypass. So, some good things, but as what I recognized is, when Donald Trump got elected, and when I wrote that piece within called this may open it up here so I can reflect on it, and I'll talk on that. It is the factor of Trumpism, Alberta's UCP importing Trumpism, Project 2025, and Christian nationalism north of the border. And I wrote that in Substack and did the research. They were more than willing to hitch their horses to a wagon of right-wing populism, Christian nationalism, evangelical, and that's really when Take Back Alberta. That's really when I started to advocate. I come from a Christian family. I could have went to a Christian school. My parents wouldn't allow any of my sibling and myself to go to a Christian school. They believed in diversity, inclusion, and equity for all people, and they had a simple thing. They said, love God as you understand God, and love your neighbors as thyself. And that is my spirituality today. I follow some fairly big voices out of the States. James, and I'm going to butcher the last name, Terracoko. He speaks out against, and his dad's a pastor in one of the bigger Baptist churches in Texas. He's running for state senator there.
Oh, yes. He's wonderful. Yeah.
Yeah. And he's made a couple of sermons in his church against Christian nationalism. And one that I love the most is separation of church and state.
Yes. I've seen this.
Yeah.
Yes, send me the link to that. I'll share this with this post. It's so important to have the church. So I'm going to offer, because I was pointing to it this week as well. It's funny that it's back in the circle, but really check out, if you haven't already, there's an excellent investigative documentary about Christian nationalism called Bad Faith. It's funny. In the opening credits, Calgary is mentioned. There is a gentleman who says, I am a Christian nationalist and I will carry the flag all the way to Calgary. Calgary is mentioned in the opening, but that is all about the seven, what they describe as the 7 mountain mandate. I've heard it being described as the 7 ways that evangelical Christian beliefs have dominated our system. And Project 2025 is in that same vein as well. And There's another documentary, because that one is, I do have to say, that one is it paints it as a Republican issue. And I know this has been framed as a far right issue, but fundamentally the Epstein files have helped us see that this is an elite issue, not just a one party issue.
Yes.
So I just want to say the framing of it was done in 2024. So it's a little bit out of date. But then the other one that's really good is called The Family. It's a series that was done on Netflix. And it talks about, again, the family and how it infiltrates the American government through APAC and other institutions like that, how they basically drive everything. So wonderful that you and I have been moving in the same circles and finally connected. I'm so impressed with all the work. Every time I talk to you, because you said you've been doing this since 1971. You know, you've been following what's happening in Alberta for a very long time.
Yeah. So two things on that. My mom always said I was either going to be a minister or a politician. I'm not going to be a minister. I may be a politician. That time will tell. But I've been following that. My parents were both members of unions. I was Michael. They used to call me Michael Keating. You know, Reaganomics, trickle down economics that might have used to trickle, but they no longer trickle. And so, you know, the family dinners were interesting because I was more on that. My dad took me aside and explained to unions that, you know, as a matter of fact, they put food on our table. They put benefits in our pockets. They allowed people to make overtime on their hours work. And if you want to follow the money, the reasons why, you know, companies might be anti-union is they don't like paying. And my dad was that way. So it drove a lot of my politics. And my mom and dad were both servant leaders in the community. My dad was a cub leader for over 20 years, Ogden 77 group. And so, you know, I take that and I advocate for mental health and addictions, and I do speak on that. So, but yeah, you know, get back to the Christian nationalism, Trumpism, and things. You know, in the article, and Daniel Smith has been down to the States and she's visited with the Proud Heritage Foundation. She's visited Trump. They've sent their ministers. There's 3 of them that I know for sure that went down and spent time praying with the Trump administration. I call it, and unfortunately, I'll be crude, it's praying to Jesus while protecting pedophiles. And that's my
no kidding. Under the guise of using religion as a weapon almost for something.
Yeah, well, 100%. Yeah, it takes the gospel and twists it into a document of a message of indifference, power, control, and that's been going along. There's a long history of Christian nationalism in Alberta. I'm just doing the research for my next piece, but to get back to the article, you know, in Alberta. Executive overreach and anti-federal populism. That's one area that you can see within the UCP. They have a lot of executive overreach, and they punch down on Ottawa. They will blame Ottawa for whether it's you know, immigration, yet, you know, setting it up 2 years earlier by requesting more people to immigrate into Alberta, but you know, they want to have it on a, you know, points merit, where if you have a job and you're making money, then you can come over. You know, you get scored -10 if you've had the COVID vaccine. These are some of the things that are in the separatist thing. Yeah. So, but a lot of blaming Ottawa and the European Union and Brexit did the same thing. Even though Cameron didn't want to separate, he wanted to use it as leverage against the EU. And they punched down on the EU. They punched down healthcare. They punch down on immigration. They punch down on transgenders. They, and they pointed all their problems were the EU's fault, and they continued to do that and spread that message. And having control of the media, that's the only message that people hear. And in Canada, you can spin it any way that you like. 37 parts of the media are owned by a company called Post Media, including the Calgary Herald and the Calgary Sun, which is owned by a hedge fund out of the United States. So we're not hearing opinions from regular Albertans. We're hearing opinions from billionaires that support Trumpism. Executive overreach. You can go into, this is a good one for you, but and it's one that gets my irk, because as soon as Trump gets elected, we have all these pipeline companies and oil industries saying we got to build our environmental policies around Trumpism. Well, that's deregulation, fossil fuels, and the gutting of renewables.
Right.
And where that fits in with the Alberta story under the UCP is the gutting of the renewable industry, which I believe is the biggest policy decision that was made by the UCP, other than the taking away of human rights violations, that had a major impact on employability and investment in this province.
100%.
Alberta was leading.
Yeah, $33 billion and 24,000 jobs. Meanwhile, the oil industry cut 10,000 jobs last year.
Yep.
And to your point, there's actually proof. I need to find an article now that you're talking about it, just this week, about how deregulation is actually visibly hurting the oil and gas industry now, because now you can't, once you deregulate, then what assets have value and which don't? So anybody who actually has assets that have value, which you and I both know, the companies that are bigger hold those biggest assets, right? So they stand to lose the most from their own advocacy towards deregulation. So
100%.
Yeah,
I won't use a scary term like an oligarchy, but sometimes my friends get a little scared, but an oligarchy. Yes, the oil and gas industry. And you don't have to, I wasn't born under a rock. I've been in the oil and gas industry. There's many articles out there. The oil and gas industry has been controlled by American, not through direct ownership, through shares and majorities in the shares. And that includes top 4 oil companies in the oil sands. So, the cutting of the renewables and then flip-flopping on the coal mining issue, which again only benefits Australian billionaires.
Right.
And it's almost like it was a setup. Jason Kenney passed it, and then there was outrage, and so he reinstated it, and then one day in 2025, Brian Jean announces that he's rescinding Lockheed's coal policy, and our environment, our water, and just our landscape, our headwaters are way more important than the and so now they're canceling some of these leases, and they're paying out $165 million so far to foreign entities that really bring zero value to Alberta. In fact, even the Grassy Mountain with AI now and all that, it's not going to drive job growth. It's not going to drive the royalties ain't there. I likened it to Trump's policy of big, beautiful coal, clean coal.
Yes, exactly.
And in his executive order, coal must be
clean coal,
be referred as clean, beautiful, clean coal.
Yes.
And it's somebody critical thinking within the industry. It's ludicrous.
Yes.
It's ludicrous. I attended the town hall down in Colville? No, Cole. Yeah, just outside of Lethbridge.
Coleman?
Coaldale. Yeah, where Daniel Smith was there, and Brian Jean, and they were gaslighting Albertans on, and so that'll lead into the next part. But fossil fuels gutting and renewables. We can talk about the buying of the Redwater refinery, a 50% stake in that. One that's been over budget, been running on losses for, paying $825 million to one company, and I won't name companies. I'm not here to. It's in general.
Yeah, you can look it up though. It's public information.
Oh,
right?
It is. It's Canadian Natural Resources. That's the other 50%. But they had a deal to absorb the risk. And for the next, what I got down here in the deal, we got about up to 2058, we're absorbing 75% of the risk. Daniel Smith just did an executive order to pay out 900 and I'll paraphrase, plus or minus I shouldn't have to paraphrase with millions, because $1 million can go a long ways in education. It can go a long ways in healthcare, and it can go a long ways in infrastructure in rural Alberta. So I shouldn't have to do that, but it was $900+ million in an executive order. Now, I don't know what act that came, but there is an act where they took and gave Daniel Smith executive powers to write executive orders to secure financing without it going through the legislature. Wow. And so that was done by executive order. There was $11 billion in 2025, January 26th, that Daniel Smith quietly signed an executive order for $11 billion to the Alberta Treasury branch. Now, the Alberta Treasury branch is not a Alberta piggy bank for ideology. They are highly funded through oil and gas, but they are receiving discounted and secured loans for oil and gas projects.
Yeah, so, with no justification.
Yeah. If you mentioned, if you're not going to get money from, because you're not following proper environmental standards or climate change policies, and you just go to the ATB and you fund your thing through there. That's not accounted for. It's run by, the head of that right now is our finance minister.
Yeah.
Well, I don't see transparency on that, and I never will. Right. But I can't call it out because I think it's executive overreach. It's $11 billion out of our, 250 million, almost 2.5 billion into the Heritage Trust Fund. So there's a lot of subsidized, what I call corporate welfare.
Yes.
I'm all for companies being able to make money. That's what they're there for. They address, but not with my taxpayer dollars.
No,
sure. Not at the expense. And most companies, the governments of the past would try and balance good fiscal responsibility with good public policy. But when I see them beating down on healthcare, beating down on public education, and defunding the AISH program and trying to get AISH people for $200 a year, well, other companies are subsidized in Alberta, the oil and gas is subsidized $2.5 billion to $3.5 billion per year by the Alberta government. Yeah. And we're telling Albertans we're broke, so we have to take $200 away from the AISH recipients. We have to administer it just.
Yes, and it's the direct assault. They force teachers back to work, wouldn't give $500 million to cap class sizes, yet they'll give $900 million for the oil industry to lie to us. These are the hypocrisies of the money that they present as if they're helping us. Like, again, it's this creating of a constitutional crisis when they're the ones creating the crisis by not following the Constitution. They're giving Ottawa the hand as if it's their fault when they're the ones who are not honoring international law. Ottawa's trying to somewhat, but also having the wool pulled out under them by the oil and gas industry, because
100%.
we're still working on this net zero carbon capture and storage nonsense when we fundamentally need to stop developing fossil fuels and start expanding renewables, like you're saying, and clean up the mess that they've left behind. How critical it is, like you say, for habitat where you lived, growing up in your flats and seeing the damage that it does if you don't look after the environment. It has to be done.
Yeah, I mean, it's you can spin it any way you like, and you can throw out the right-wing populist oil and gas statements. I prefer to have my people handle it with integrity and with honesty, and not lead us down this path of, I'm not, the oil and the gas industry is going to be around for a while, but I'm just going to move on just a little bit there because
and then we'll get into the recall updates after you've wrapped up.
100%. Yeah, so I'm going to just they brought culture wars and Christian nationalist echoes to there. The Christian nationalists have always been indifferent to the suffering. They have a history in Alberta, the Social Credit Party, the First Nations. They would go, what was our part in it? Well, there was a genocide that took place in Canada and in Alberta. And I, as a Christian, was indifferent to that fact. And I've made I've reconciled those emotions and those feelings with the people from the First Nations, and I stand with them. But Christian nationalism have a one-way path. They have, number one, dollars. People are leaving their churches. They don't like the message that are there. As James would say, I'm looking out at a church full of gray hairs. They're holding on to the past because they're not offering something. They want their tax rate. They don't pay taxes, but they want to have say in government. Well, want say in government, pay taxes.
Right.
Culture wars, and I can name a few. Bicycle lanes in the city of Calgary.
15-minute cities.
It's distraction politics. Raising the speed limit up onto the highway to 120. It's another culture war. It's another distraction. It gets worse though because they punch down on society's most vulnerable. They punch down on and make it a culture war on the kids, transgender youth, or kids, from that disabilities or learning or on the spectrum, right? The ACE punch down was only it's very similar to what Trump has said. We want people disabled to work. Now they're taking their advice from RFK Jr., who I think personally is battier than and I don't stand alone in that opinion.
Yeah.
But it's all planned. It's all
understating the problem. Like we need to remind people that we haven't yet spoken about the climate crisis. You and I spoke before we went live.
Yeah.
It's February, and it is like it's May right now. There's no snow. It is a bizarre and measurable issue. The colder days are going away. We're getting longer, warmer days. I saw grass in January. So there's a bigger problem here that we are not talking about when they do this culture war stuff against us. And I just want to circle back to those two things. So if people want to know more of what Andy is explaining, and he did a beautiful job, please check out his article. I'll share the link to your article in the thing. Check out those two documentaries I spoke about. So Bad Faith on the family. And they talk about this one I see is the 7 spheres. But anyway, so they infiltrate family, religion, dominate, I should say, family, religion, education, government, media, arts and entertainment, and then also businesses. So this is the taking in and wasting society where it's okay to just be treating people as if they're disposable and not actually living within the means of the planet ultimately, which we
Yes.
have to address. So that's the whole thing we need to address. And we're not doing that because they still are leading us down this dark path of dominance. And we're just going to, I don't know, kick butt until the end kind of thing. So
Yes, 100%.
it's twisted.
Uh,
It's very
yeah,
twisted. Thank you so much for giving a sample of that. The other things that you mentioned that you talk about, and we won't get into them, Andy, but if you can just run through it. And you said one of the principles of your Taking Alberta Forward initiative, you mentioned healthcare is one of those primary for you.
Yeah, universal public health care that's accessible, adequately funded, and focuses on the well-being of all Albertans. Advocate for Alberta's most vulnerable, robust public education that equips every child with the tools for success, prioritizes public schools over private schools. Those two things, regardless of where you live, because if you want to move into rural Alberta and you want something to raise your family there and make a living there, what do you ask for? You want good public education that your kid can go and learn. And you want good public universal health care where the resources are sitting in Calgary and you live in Jenner, Alberta, and you have to drive into Calgary to get private services.
It's not.
Right. And we're always asking for transparency and integrity in our government, where leaders are held to the highest standards. And we're proudly Canadian, and we will stand for, whether it's Forever Canadian, we will tie in, going to the rallies. There's a great one on February 21st. So
yes, 10 to 12 p.m. in Calgary at City Hall, 10 to 12 p.m. in Edmonton at the Ledge, and then in Medicine Hat too. Do you know where that one is at? Is that
Medicine Hat is at the, what's the name of the...
You can look that up for me when I'm going through the info later. How about... Okay, so let's do some recall updates. When I get to your area, Andy, it would be great if you could tell me where you guys are going to be this weekend when I get to it. But just a reminder for everyone, you can go to operationtotalrecall.ca to find out about how to get involved. I myself am going door knocking in Calgary East this Saturday from 12 to 3. We're picking a spot. If you want to join us, please reach out to me. We want to help do some door knocking there with them. And then I'm just going to get into the other ones here. So let me just bring up this other screen. What did I do with it? Interesting. Okay. Sorry, Andy. I just lost track of my screen. Okay. I must have closed it down by accident. Just get it open here. Okay. So, Glenn Ben, so there are a number of them that are coming close to ending soon. So I want to make sure to try and do this in that order. So Spruce Grove, Stony Plain area, Cyril Turton is ending soon. There is a yoga studio called the Yoga Place in town. You can sign. Please check out their website. So it's recallmlaturton.ca to find out where to sign there. If you're in Grand Prairie or Grand Prairie Wapiti area, there are 2 recalls going on there. Nolan Dick and Ron Weeb. The Kick Dick campaign is almost up. That one's up in 9 days. Love that name, right? So please get out there. It's your final chance. There's signing locations at the Grand Prairie Public Library Saturday from 11 to 2 and Sunday from 1:30 to 4 p.m. I suspect you can sign both petitions there. If you are in the Wapiti area, please make sure to get out and sign that one. It's your final chance this weekend. We have the Sigurdsson campaign is also coming close to an end. They have final signing locations at the Okotoks Recreation Center from 10 to 1 p.m. on both Saturday and Sunday. And again, you can also email their mobile canvas, which is mobile RJ Rika, So reca@gmail.com for mobile signing. If you want to sign the Glenn Van Dicken campaign, that there's 12 days left in that one. Again, you can go to Lou's Pastime and Treasures. That's 107th Street in West Block. There's some signing times on every day except for Sunday. It's closed. Ask for recall at the front counter, and that's at recallglenn, GLENN.ca. Miles McDougall, there's 12 days left in that one. I should have said the same for Glenn. So please get out. There's signing at like Mid-Sun Junior High School tonight from 5 to 6:30 p.m., from Thursday at 11 to 1 p.m. at St. Philip's School, and from 4:30 to 6:30 p.m. at Mid-Sun Community Center. That's on Thursday. And then on Friday, there's a signing station, 2 of them, from 2 to 4 p.m. at Queensland Community Center, and 4:30 to 6:30 p.m. at Sunpark Drive in Renfrew at Siksika Nation Engineering. So check those signing locations out. Again, 12 days left there. So now I'm at Rick MacGyver. You guys are at 12 days left.
We're 12 days left, 22nd of February.
Right.
Yeah, and we're going to be hitting the pavement there. Saturday, Sunday, I will be at Mackenzie Lake Boulevard and Mackenzie Lake Way. It's right next to the school. We will be setting up at 130th Shopping Center, just north of the Mark's Work Warehouse. But definitely people can go to the recall-macgyver.ca, and we do have an interactive map there. You can also follow us on Facebook. I don't have the Facebook, but if you type in recall
MacGyver, you can find it that way for sure.
Yeah. And you can also go to Operation Total Recall and click on Rick MacGyver, and the links are all provided there for Instagram and for Facebook, and I post on LinkedIn and on Blue Sky and Substack. We're out there and we're listening. We're still actively participating. We're sticking with the scripts. We don't ask people, who they voted for previously to determine whether they're eligible to vote. That information, if people want to tell us a little bit of their story, then I'm more than willing to listen to that story. And it was the same with the Alberta Funds Public Education, and the recognition of the defunding of public education, for the benefit of private education, and listening to those stories. And whether we make that or make the numbers or not, what we really want to get a message across is I'm hoping that somebody, that may not be in cabinet would be willing to walk across the floor as Scott Sinclair did, and as Peter Guthrie did.
Right.
I'm also hoping that we can get a message out that democracy is not a spectator sport. It takes active participation. Yes. We need to get people out to vote, and we need them to get them to vote based on what's best for their families, what's best for their communities, and what's best for Alberta. And that is the message that I try to carry, is we need people to participate.
Agreed.
Are you still there?
I am. Yeah. You froze for a second.
My screen just went black, and I went, that's all right. My first podcast, but I put it down there, and I thank you for keeping me on track. But our recall, and we're signed up for the, and I will throw a plug in for the Water Not Coal.
Thank you.
That was approved yesterday to collect signatures. You can go to waternotcoal.ca. It's an easy process to sign up to Canvas. The links are there. Once you've done that, you fill out your form 1403. You get acceptance. The training is there. It's easy peasy, but it goes through that. And then on the 21st, after the Alberta is Canada rally, There are 3 events planned, and these are events one's at the Alexander Center in Calgary,
Mm-hmm.
and I'm not sure, but it's going to be from 1 till
4, I
4.
think they said. Yeah.
Yeah. So please do get signed up. There's also links to donate, and let's stand up for our, let's stand up for Peter Lockheed. Let's stand up for Peter Lockheed. He'll go down in history and still go down in history as the best premier ever in Canada. But the one big difference between Peter Lockheed is he never played the victim.
Right.
He was a diplomat. He believed in strong fiscal responsibility, combined with good public policy.
Right.
And if you just one thing ever, just research the history of why he set up the Heritage Trust Fund. And if you look at the reasons for that, and they were growing it at that time, but you'll find out that over the past 20 years, it's been a piggy bank for the oil and gas industry.
Yeah.
So I think moving forward, that's kind of the end of my. I'm looking forward to the water not coal canvassing and getting out. I will say that during the recall MacGyver, I've collected and humbly 536 signatures. I've probably spoken to more constituents than Rick MacGyver's spoken to in 6 years.
Ain't that the truth? That's what we felt. We were doing their jobs. It was pretty wild to talk to so many people. Yeah. It was fabulous.
Yeah, and there's an important part about you have to listen to people, but you need to understand what it is they're saying.
Right.
And that is the key part to being able to carry those messages forward, right?
Yeah.
Because you're going to hear some stories that affects people from all walks of life. And so, I'm going to leave it on that, Jenny, and let you close out.
Okay, wonderful. Okay, so I'm just going to keep running through some of these. So Mohammed Yassin, his recall is due in 12 days as well. Please reach out to the campaign. It is recallyassin.ca. Remember that there is a letter. So in the first Reclaiming Alberta report that I did on the podcast a couple of weeks ago, there's a letter that we've drafted to him to encourage him to resign, as what Andy is suggesting he wants to see from Rick MacGyver. Let's ask these MLAs to do the right thing, step aside, step away from separatism and the dismantling of our constitutional rights. So please get out there, sign that, do that. Rajan Sahani, there is a signing spot at the Home Depot on Nose Hill Drive from 11 to 4 p.m. on Saturday. Mobile canvas is available too. Please text 403-210-1676. That's in Calgary Northwest. Dale Nally's is almost over. You can text 368-209-1581 to sign. Jackie Lovely, that's in Mornville, St. Albert. Jackie Lovely in Camrose. There's a permanent indoor signing location near the DFW Career Center, 24811 51st Avenue in Camrose. Lots of hours available, and you can also text 780-281-0797 to sign as well. Peter Singh, so Calgary East, I mentioned we're going out there on Saturday. Tanya First campaign, Calgary Keep It Pagan. There's a signing station at the Riverbend Tim Hortons on Saturday from 10 to 4 p.m. and on Monday from 2 to 6. A little bit more time left in that campaign. Please get out there and help that campaign. Chelsea's a phenomenal leader. You won't regret it. Adriana LaGrange and Jason Stefan. So that's in Red Deer. There are 23 days left on those campaigns. Saturday from 10 to 3, you can go to 4730 Ross Street, next to the Knox Church. And there's a rally on Sunday from 12:30 to 3:30 p.m. on Gates Ave and 19th Street. Bring a sign, bring a friend, and sign. Let's see. Nate Glubish. There's 28 dates left on that campaign. Lots of opportunities to sign at Festival Place on Friday, at Bethel Transit Terminal, Heritage Dog Park. These are on Saturday. Strathcona County Community Center as well. And then Mickey Amory's campaign, they go out door knocking on Saturday and lid dropping on Sunday. I've been out with them twice on Sunday. get out there and help them. They've got a great group of people going, and this is one that's really not hard. It's only 9,000 signatures, people. So this is a really big opportunity to get behind a campaign that has time, and it has some, it has a hurdle that is doable. So if we give it enough attention. So remember to go to Operation Total Recall to sign up for anything you want to do. But for that campaign specifically, go to recallmickey.ca. Jackie Armstrong's campaign, there's 35 days left on that. You can sign in Fort Saskatchewan on Sunday on 2 to 5 p.m. at the Lions Community Hall, and on Thursday, February 19th and Saturday, February 21st at the Shell Theatre. There are two performances. So it'll be before on your way in. Be prepared to see somebody and sign on your way into those performances. Nathan Neudorf's campaign. So Nathan is holding an open house on February 18th from 3 to 4 p.m. That's a Wednesday from 3 to 4:30 p.m. That seems like he's not looking for a lot of showing up. So if you're able to show up there ask him if Jenny Steed is attending. Maybe you can find out more about what happened with his campaign. And then on Sunday, February 22nd, there's a rally planned for those who genuinely wanted to run a Recall Neudorf campaign. I will be there. I'm looking forward to seeing some people in Lethbridge at that. And then last but certainly not least is our Premier. So Premier Daniel Smith's campaign goes till March 10th and Justin Wright's till March 23rd. McBride's Bakery is the place to sign there, please. And there's many days, Tuesday through Sunday, to check out there. And that's my updates for the recall. I'm just going to give a little bit more. So our action this week is an action that I got from the, where am I here? The Eco-Justice is asking for us to send a note to our MLAs asking for an investigation into why oil and gas liabilities have not been accounted for. So I'll share that action for folks in my post for this week. And so today at 4:30, I am doing another broadcast with Peter McKay. So Peter McKay is a teacher. He was the chair of the negotiating committee for the Alberta Teachers Association. So I'm really looking forward to speaking with him today, all about education and what we can do in that space. So that's everything for me. Thank you so much, Andy, for joining me. Any closing words you want to offer before we say goodbye to folks?
Well, thank you for having me. And I will close with, I am an Albertan. I am a Canadian and forever Canadian. And I invite everybody to come out and celebrate Alberta and celebrate Canada on the 21st at 10 o'clock from all walks of life. It's a family affair. I have good word that there might be a pretty good MC going to show up to MC that. We're going to have drummers and teachers and people living with disabilities. Let's get down there and let's stand up for the Canada we believe in. Thank you.
Yeah, wonderfully said, Andy. Please get out there for that day. This is like a Canada Day in Alberta for us. Let's get out there. Yes. Let's know that we are loyal to this country, loyal to our mission in looking out for each other. Please remember to like and subscribe to the Gravity Well. Help get Andy's message out, help get our message out and your message out. This is for all of us at the end of the day. Thank you so much, everyone. Have a great rest of your day.